Olivia Robertson, speaking from Clonegall Castle. Time and place, me and mine are now joined together through a rainbow radiation because we wish to learn of the wisdoms of Atlantis and Lemuria through the ceremonial magic of Neptune and Ngame. Now, I want you to relax happily, and perhaps you might want to turn off your tape as you fetch a glass of water and also a bowl of water. Yes. Now you've done that, and I want you to sit very, very comfortably and be sure you're not going to be interrupted. Have dim lights. The glass of water you take after this trance journey to make sure you come back from trance. Don't lose consciousness, but be in that lovely state one attains between sleeping and waking. Begin by anointing your brow like the crescent moon, which will awaken your psychic vision. Good. Now take my hand. I am robed in pale violet. I have long dark hair. And I take you to a beautiful valley in Ireland where there is a magical grey castle with battlements hidden by trees. It is protected by two rivers, the fork of two rivers, encircled by hills and one violet mountain. Within the castle is a holy well around which the fortress was built. Our ceremony starts there. Come with me down the steps. We see a whole group of companions who are practicing this ritual magic. How beautifully they are robed. A magician wears a blue robe and the enchantress a silver robe. We notice the men have silver headdresses, the women silver crowns. The main body of the congregation or practitioners of magic wear purple robes. We see a candidate standing apart, a candidate for initiation. She is a lovely girl with long dark hair. She is robed with white and wears a white veil that partly conceals her face. Now we long to see the well, so we slip up unobserved and look into its depths. It's very, very deep. It is a well that never runs dry. We see now that all present are anointing themselves with water, as you did. Sitting by the well, we now observe a still figure of a priestess. She is totally veiled in white over violet robe. Why, she's very still. She is entranced, and with awe and delight we realize that we are beholding an oracle, one who acts as a channel for the holy goddess herself. A priest wearing a silver headdress and flowing silver robes approaches her and makes invocation.
None is greater in the universe than the triple moon goddess Ngame. Lost in fear and despair at the ill effects of man's follies, we watch our fair home in this earth being poisoned by our wars and greed. So, after eons, we again invoke thee, the goddess Ngame, once worshipped in the lost continents of Lemuria. The Arkans of Africa and the Libyan Berbers adore thee. The peoples of Africa are awakening and remember their lost heritage. The builders of Zimbabwe call to them from the world of spirit and the Dogons, and other tribes once more draw strength from their ancient religions. Divine Ngame, with our silver rays, transmute our deadly existences into beautiful lives of everlasting joy.
With my white light I make the occult manifest, and with my clarity I draw hidden knowledge from the depths of the ocean of being into your consciousness. That which materialists term unreal is real, and that which they call real is unreal. Nothing devoid of love or truth or beauty is real. Immortality is the unfailing test of reality. You gaze into my crystal, which I hold in my hands, and see beautiful scenes within it. These pictures are reflections of my lovely sphere. My first sphere is that of nature spirits and fairies, the sheep. Here, all who love nature find their home. You have lost the key. This silver key is the innocence of childhood. My second sphere is beloved of artists and poets and all who are creative. It is Elysium, and is glorified with many-colored rays shining upon beautiful palaces and sublime landscapes. You have lost the key. The lapis key is understanding. My third realm is that of great space, which some call Olympus and others Devashan. And here dwell the goddesses and gods who reign over stars and planets. You have not yet the key. The golden key is love with wisdom. To reach me, invoke me with reverence and good intention by one of my divine names, such as Ngame. Anoint your brow with pure water and drink some. Now gaze upon water in cup or pool or into crystal or mirror. First, you will only see your own face. As you continue to scree, clouds will veil your own reflection and visions come, first as shadows, then filled with color. With perseverance, you will learn to project yourself into the scene. You will experience that which was, and is, and shall be. Always end with giving thanks, for I give the experiences for your good. Use your knowledge wisely. Work to make the earthly realm a clearer reflection of the greater spheres of eternity. For you can lose heaven in a second, but only regain it through years of constant struggle. All give thanks to the goddess for her oracle. They slowly, with reverence, file away from the well in solemn procession, headed by the magician and by the enchantress. They follow 9 pillars in an L shape, past many shrines of the zodiac with flickering flames. Now we feel the heavenly smell of incense. We take a turn and face 2 pillars, and we see the company face a high altar. The altar is draped in silver and purple cloths. The figure of the goddess is upon it. A bronze silver candlestick is in the center, formed by 3 upturned crescents, one above the other, 7 white candles lighted at each apex. It is like a tree with 1 stem and 6 curving branches. By it is a silver cup and silver trident. The incense we have been smelling is burning in a copper container. The temple floor is marked with a silver thread with the sign of Neptune. The altar is between this upturned crescent, and the enchantress and magician stand at the points. At the end of the sign of Neptune is a small circle, and before the altar, therefore, is a large silver-coloured vessel of water. The candidate is led by magician and enchantress before this vessel. 4 practitioners of magic stand at the 4 quarters, each wearing a colour suitable for that. Pale yellow in the east, flame colour in the west, flame colour in the south, yes, and green in the west, and a deep violet in the north. The magician now speaks of the intention of the magical ceremony.
Practitioners of the magical arts, we are assembled in this holy temple to perform the planetary magic of Neptune and Ngame. Our intention is to reconcile the magic of Atlantis with the wisdom of Lemuria, and so to harmonise art and nature in ourselves and upon our planet.
Now the magician lifts up his mighty magical staff encircled by a silver serpent and makes the sign of Neptune before the altar. He then offers incense to the deities.
I invoke the god Neptune, Poseidon of Atlantis and of Hellas. I begin to sing of Poseidon, the great god, mover of the earth and the fruitless sea, god of the deep, who is also lord of Helicon and wide Aegea. Hail Poseidon, holder of the earth, dark-haired lord. In the centre of thy temple in Atlantis, dedicated to the nymph Cleito, and to thee thou art represented, standing in a chariot drawn by 6 winged horses, surrounded by 100 Nereids, riding on dolphins. Aid us to learn the magic arts of Atlantis, long concealed by ocean and time.
Now the enchantress sweeps forward, her robe flying behind her. She holds up a cup. She makes her invocation. I invoke the triple moon goddess Ngame of Lemuria and Africa. I offer incense. O secret light, O hidden goddess of unseen glory, raise the veil from thy face, that its rays may illumine my ignorance. Raise me to be thy beloved in that bright land of thine, but let thy darkness also bring deeper knowledge. O secret moon, O hidden pool, O goddess of many names, the veil hath fallen from my eyes, and I see thy shining face. But sleep draws nigh, thy blackness rises to enfold me. Grant us our prayer, O beautiful goddess, for our ritual.
That balance of the energies be achieved. May the 4 guardians be invoked.
Now the 4 guardians stand forth, each in his quarter, with upraised arms.
I invoke the mother goddess of Lemuria and Africa, Asase-Ya. May the hidden treasures of wisdom buried beneath the Pacific Ocean be restored to us.
I invoke the rain god of Lemuria and Africa, Amma. Let the ancient teachings of Lemuria that are concealed in Africa come to the wise.
I invoke the divine ancestor Evanor. Of Atlantis and Hellas. The magical arts of Atlantis are thus evoked.
I invoke the divine ancestress Lucipe of Atlantis and Hellas. May we revive the beautiful arts of Atlantis that are guarded in Hellas.
The four practitioners stand back, and the magician moves before the altar.
Art thou willing to learn the magical arts through enacting the role of Cicera?
The candidate is led forward before the magician.
She who formed the rainbow bridge with her arc from mighty ocean to ocean, so uniting two continents and two cultures, of heart and head, nature and the arts.
The candidate now lifts up her head, salutes the altar, and answers the magician.
I am willing, for without the wisdom of the heart, the arts of magic and science are sterile.
The magician gravely salutes the candidate and says these words to her.
To reconcile, it is necessary to understand. Know that from an ancient script discovered in Africa, written in Ziznu, an arcane form of Bantu, the sage Milo Iboya of the Berbers has given us some fragments. In a subterranean chamber in one of the ancient ruined cities of southern Africa, not to be named, the sage discovered these writings. The script is in hieroglyphics and symbols inscribed on sheets of parchment, on tablets of ivory and bone, on shards of stone and pottery. These writings tell of the birth of the universe and of humanity, their evolution and destiny. They refer to Lemuria, known to the ancients as Mu.
The enchantress now lifts her arms before the altar with her magical wand, crowned with a moon. My invocation to Ngame came from these same scripts. O Ngame, enlighten our hearts and bring us warmth. She now turns to the company. Dear friends and companions, hearken to the words from the immemorial past, and then in silence gaze into our vessel of water.
For long weary years I, the wanderer, travelled the desert sands alone, seeking my lost home. Hunger had melted my flesh, and thirst had dried up the springs of my life, and death walked close behind me, his hand outstretched to seize me. But his fingers failed to grasp me. Again and again, though I fainted and fell, yet again and again I did arise. In the dews of the night, in a trickle amid the burning sands, in the hollow heart of the desert flower, I found enough pure cold water to refresh me. But I found not that land and that pool which I sought, and at last my strength was spent. My garments had fallen into shreds, and my sandals had crumbled upon my feet. The night of the desert was upon me. Darkness and silence surrounded me. I tottered and fell to earth, bethinking me, now I die.
The magician falls to one knee. The enchantress fills a cup with water from the magical vessel before the altar and gives the candidate to drink.
Then lo! My outstretched hands touched soft and dewy grass. My nostrils were filled with the odour of flowers, and my ears with the pleasant murmur of waters. I opened my eyes, and found that I was once more in my home of joy and beauty. Flowery sward and rich coloured plants extended on every side. Among the flowers, a deep limpid pool gleamed softly. The azure sky thrilled with the notes of bright-winged birds, which from time to time perched among the fruit-laden branches of a tree that grew nearby. I rose up and drank from the pool, and I knew that this was the water of life, and I plunged into it. and strength returned to my body, and I was as one reborn. I stood naked among the flowers, and I stretched out my arms and gazed aloft at that tree. Then I knelt and gazed into the pool, and I saw wondrous visions of that which was, and that which is, and that which shall be.
The enchantress now faces the candidate who has hearkened to these wonderful words. She takes her by the hand and guides her before the cup of water. She is told to gaze into it. Now, as the candidate gazes into the water to see beautiful visions, as the magician has described, I want you, my friend, to gaze into an imaginary vessel of water with me. Go on your knees, hold the vessel and look deep into it. Now withdraw from whatever beautiful vision you have been given. The candidate also withdraws her gaze. The magician addresses her.
Cesara sailed for many years seeking her haven. Picture yourself as the wanderer beneath the tree, by the pool in that garden, our true home. In his place, when you wakened there, what would you have done?
For a while I would have enjoyed the beauties of that place and befriended the birds. Then I would have longed to share our home with my family and friends. So I would have returned to the world, taking good care to bring some of that precious water of life with me.
So did that wanderer. Hearken to his words. Then I planned to build a road from the cities unto the pool, to make the way easy and smooth to the feet of my weary brothers and sisters. But when I had made my highway, all those that travelled by it returned again to the cities, reviling me for a deceiver. At this I wondered greatly, and set forth by the way I had fashioned. But I found that indeed there was no road, for the sands had swallowed it up. What do you learn from this?
What do you learn from this? Before the candidate makes her reply, meditate. What do you learn from this highway made to bring the waters of life to others, and yet it didn't work? Why? Let us in silence meditate. The candidate gives her reply. I wonder, will it be the same as yours?
I realise that each one of us must search for the lost garden and drink from the pool by the soul's desire and effort. One cannot bring others the water of life. As in an atmosphere void of divine nature, the water becomes polluted or dried up.
You have understood the wisdom of Lemuria, as did our wanderer in the tale. And at last wisdom flowered in my heart, and I saw that knowledge and truth must never be found by cunning device of the mind of man. Truth must be reached through the strength of the heart, and knowledge grasped with the power of the hand.
The enchantress now steps forward. She lifts up her wand before the altar, and in the name of Ngame, I declare that your heart is open to the wisdom of Lemuria. From henceforth you will understand the language of bird and beast, and rejoice for the hills, and know the majesty of mountains. The sea runs in your veins, the fire of the volcano is in your heart. The crescent moon is upon your brow, for you are Sisera of the Grail. Let us now pause as the candidate has passed her first trial. Let us ponder upon the meaning of this ceremony before she passes or tries to pass the next test. happiness does not last forever. Only in heaven is eternal joy. On earth even the noblest civilizations fall for one reason or another. The candidate has some doubt herself about the perpetual felicity of Lemuria. Move.
How can I hope to keep these gifts, even if I attain them, as did Sisera, when it is written that the dwellers upon the continent of Mu perished miserably beneath the Pacific Ocean? Tell me of their calamity and the cause thereof, that I may learn from it.
Know that the inhabitants of Lemuria grew too wise in the ways of earthly skills, without the divine art of intuition. They tamed nature from without, but not from within their hearts, and a thirst for power grew in them, which drove them away care from their fellows. Their end is told by the Bambara tribe of Africa, brought to them by ages of spoken tradition. They say that in the olden times men longed to know about the moon, and they planned to reach her. So with great skill they made a lofty ladder of stakes. It may be that man climbed upon the moon, but none can say, for that towering ladder collapsed, and all men were dashed to pieces. Only in the fullness of time a new race was born of the Earth Mother.
The enchantress now speaks of that most magical of all lands. This new race dwelt on another continent, in another ocean, and was called Atlantis, as was told to the philosopher Plato by Critias. The wise Solon, Critias said, had once visited the city of Sais in Egypt, whose goddess was Neith, known to the Athenians as Athene, and to the Africans as Ngame. One of the priests of great age spoke to Solon. He wrote thus: "O Solon, Solon, you Hellenes are never anything but children. There is no old opinion handed down among you by ancient tradition, nor any science which is hoary with age. And I will tell you why. There have been, and will be again, many destructions of mankind arising out of many causes. The greatest have been brought about by the agencies of fire and water. You have heard of the myth of Phaeton, he who yoked the steeds of Helios, his father, and because he could not follow the sun's path, burnt up all that was upon the earth. Now this was a myth, and really signifies a delineation of the bodies moving around the earth, and recurs after long intervals. And indeed, my friends, the fall of Phaeton is like a great meteor, for it is described as burning up whole islands and parts of continents."
And the Egyptian priest instructed Solon concerning the rise and fall of continents and peoples, as recorded in the secret records preserved in ancient Egyptian temples.
In that case, are the civilizations of Lemuria and Atlantis myths, such as that of Phaeton?
A planet may fall, a meteorite may strike the earth, and at the same time an impetuous youth like Phaeton may well cause disaster by misuse of his motor bicycle. Your intuition will tell you of the earthly reality of myths. Human beings are apt to tie up personal stories about people in whom they are interested with mighty and terrible happenings. Thus you get a myth.
Why do facts matter? Is not the myth sufficient for spiritual understanding of divine truths, veiled in symbolism?
In lost traditions are often buried memories of our own past. These must be transmuted before occult initiation.
Draw round, my friends, for many of you once lived in Atlantis in previous incarnations. Hearken to its myth as given to Solon by the Egyptian priest. Then, once more, O candidate, gaze into the vessel of water. Thousands of years ago, there was a continent in the great ocean, which was larger than Africa and Asia put together. In this island continent there was a great and wonderful empire. It was richly provided with every sort of produce, and what was lacking was brought from overseas. Harvests were reaped twice a year. Among other metals they dug from the earth aurichalcum, a reddish metal near as precious as gold. There was a great number of elephants on the island.
They bridged over the zones of the sea which surrounded the ancient metropolis. Beginning from the sea, they bored canals of 300 feet in width and 100 feet in depth as an outer canal. And their canals they boarded with walls coated with brass, tin, and orichalcum. The palaces within were constructed likewise. The holy temple of their deities, Poseidon and the nymph Cleito, was surrounded by an enclosure of gold, where dwelt the families of the 10 blue-cloaked kings and queens. The outside of the temple was covered with silver, and the pinnacles with gold.
And there were golden statues of kings and queens and dignitaries, and also fountains of hot and cold water. The whole country was lofty and precipitous, but the land around the citadel was a level plain, and the plain itself was artificial, yet of an extent that this was hard to believe, as it was excavated to 100 feet. Canals of 100 feet in width were used to convey wood and fruits of the earth in ships to the capital. Their harvests were twice yearly.
For many generations, as long as divine nature guided them, the people were obedient to the laws and well affectioned to the deities. They possessed true and in every way great spirits, uniting gentleness with wisdom. Such was the vast power which the deities settled on the continent of Atlantis.
Now the candidate is told to gaze into the vessel of water and see the wonders of Atlantis. Now please do likewise kneel before an imaginary and yet possibly real vessel of water and see the wonders of Atlantis.
If you had been the Lady Shazara, who sailed to this land from Mu, and dwelt there, what would you have done?
What would you have done? There you are, with no poor, no misfortune, in paradise. How would you have occupied your time? How lovely it is to daydream of paradise, an earthly paradise. However, you have made up your mind. Let us hear what the candidate would have done in such idyllic circumstances.
Well, with no poor to succour, no battles to be fought, nor difficulties to surmount, I would deem myself in heaven and enjoy myself. I would practise various arts and at least have leisure to pursue the occult sciences.
Which was the path pursued by the Atlanteans. But men and women withdrew so much from cares and toil that they became more like sophisticated dolls than creatures of nature. The women and men alike painted their faces and bodies with many colours. The men were as women, and the women as boys, and youths gazed like Narcissus into looking-glasses and fell in love with themselves, and women withdrew from childbearing, preferring to write poetry or paint pictures. And so the divine portion in each of them began to fade slowly. They, being unable to bear their good fortune, behaved unseemly. They grew visibly dissipated, for they were losing the fairest of their precious gifts, the earth.
And what became of them?
Alas, here, the deities, perceiving an honourable race in woeful plight, chastened them that they might be improved. Nature herself took these poor dolls and their finery to her mighty bosom. A volcano from the mighty mother's heart shook the earth, and the cleansing sea rose and engulfed them all, and their palaces and gardens with them. What do you learn from this? Friend, what do you learn from this? The candidate thought and then spoke.
I realise that seeming calamities are a transmutation. That which is divorced from divine nature must be restored to her roots, and so be purified and born anew.
You will be happy that the candidate has passed this test. The enchantress picks up the trident from the altar and presents it to her. My daughter, you have spoken wisely and like a true enchantress. You are Cesara of the trident. With this you can raise the power to transmute the elements through 3 spheres. Use this to raise and quell storms of vital energies. The happy candidate holds the trident aloft.
Learn well to obtain these powers in verity, as did Cesara, who reconciled Lemuria and Atlantis, nature and art. Let us all join in this harmony. May the enchantress lead the spiral dance of creation.
How beautiful! The whole company now form a spiral dance of the sea of Neptune and of the full moon of Ngame, led by the magician and the enchantress. The successful candidate is now unveiled, and all dance round her. Then she too forms the spiral dance of the labyrinth of sea caves under the oceans where are the ruins of Mu and of Atlantis. Join in the dance yourself. Why not? It is good also to dance by yourself anyway in your physical body, but now dance in your psychic body. You will feel energies run through you like silver and blue and green, the colors of the waves. Dance the dance of the sea in your heart, moving your arms like the mermaids. You are full of joy. You have understood the ways of the mind and of the heart and the hidden wisdom. Dance, dance, dance. Now the whole company gather round the cauldron of water and in turn gaze into it. That is the centre of the spiral dance, the cauldron of creation, that which is hidden in the depths. Now let us share the vision of the wanderer written in the secret writings of ancient Africa.
I entered the temple of the moon goddess of the ancient wisdom, and I saw a vast hall with a roof of moonlight blue and a floor of milk-white crystal. 7 lamps hanging from silver chains poured out 7 sacred rainbow beams upon the white altar stone. And 3 other lamps shed the varied rays of the secret opal. I mounted 7 steps of rainbow crystal and 3 steps of opal. Then I turned round. I saw that the crystal pavement had become a pool, clear and still as a lake mirror that reflects the sky of midnight. I saw with wonder that the water was rising swiftly and silently toward my feet. Step after step, the altar steps sank below the still face of the flood and vanished utterly. The tide kissed my feet and embraced my knees, yet I felt no fear nor chill. The silent wave flowed round my throat, and as it did so it engulfed the altar stone, and I said, "All that I am, I share with those who long for life." And I bowed my head beneath the waters and passed into a region that had no length, nor breadth, nor height, nor depth. And the queen was blackness, and her throne was silence.
Let us experience the silence. Now, hear what befell the wanderer. The candidate rises proudly now, holding her trident, and tells.
And I saw the dark queen of the night and the bright queen of the white stone flow together and embrace. And I rose through the waters of the temple pool and stood upon the steps of the altar stone. And I looked upon my body, and a robe of purple enwrapped me to the feet, and the crown of pure silver adorning my brow.
Let us gaze upon those two sisters, the dark queen and the white queen. They are one. How happy are all the company, reconciling the depths and darkness of Africa with the cold whiteness of the north. The right hand and the left are together, mind and heart are together, spirit and soul, man and woman, human and animal. Glory is with the heart. All the company now turn together with hands upraised, receiving electric-like power that flows through them with gold and silver rays. Feel it yourself. Now they turn outwards and through their hands bless the world. You may see violet light and silver and gold. Visualize our earth and see it cleansed with the waters of the goddess, purified with fire within, through love gently. Bathe the earth in healing rays. Look upon the vessel of water. In the temple of Isis, it is now surrounded by rainbow-coloured light, seen with the clairvoyant eye. Healing rays pour forth, surrounded by white light. The whole temple of Isis is filled with these beauties. Now it extends right through the grey castle, and I want you to rise with me above the castle. See, it is radiating like a great rose. It fills the valley with joy. The silver rivers of the nymph Clito pour together, reaching the sea of Poseidon on a Menanum. Above shines the moon, in her glory, surrounded by a pale orange glow. Holy moon of the triple goddess Ngame. Now visualize yourself in your own home, time, different time from this, and place, bringing this glory with you. For are you not too surrounded by the starry sky, sun and moon? Are you not upon our verdant earth? And are you not here to heal her wounds? In your body, feel these radiations come through you. Your problems vanish like shadows. You are an eternal being, clothed in mortal flesh, briefly. Send these rays now to all who need help, those you love and those you do not love, for they need help the most. Send it to all animals and creatures, dogs and cats you find attractive, but also reptiles, those you do not like. Now come back fully to your physical body, respecting it, for now it is luminous with psychic light. Come back fully. Make a sharp sound. I will do it for you. Drink the glass of water slowly. You are back in your own time and place, and I am only a voice and no longer a presence, a being. I speak to you from the fellowship of Isis, Clonigor Castle, Enniscorthy, Ireland, and you are welcome to write to any of us. Steve Wilson was magician. Caroline Wise, candidate, and John Merritt was the priest, and all those who enact this sacred ceremonial magic of Poseidon, of Neptune and Ngame, are still part of that magic, and wish you well all over the world. I'm going to bring you back completely to earth by telling you where you may read of the ancient writings of Africa. The Sayings of the Ancient One by the Irishman who lived in the last century, P.G. Bowen. The publisher was Rite. You should get that in the British Museum. It's priceless. It comes from the School of Africa. There's African mythology. Geoffrey Parender published Hamlin. World Mythology, Larousse, Hamlin. The White Goddess by my cousin Robert Graves, the late Robert Graves, Faber. And do read the real account of Atlantis instead of wild, sometimes imaginary stories. Timaeus, Critias from Plato, and you'll get that in any library, Plato's dialogue. His ancestor, after all, heard about Atlantis. The Classical Dictionary of Lempriere was published in 1812. You probably won't get our edition, but you can get it. And do read the Homeric hymns published by Heinemann. They are again authentic and come from Homeric times. Every time we recite these ancient liturgies from thousands of years ago, we link with the sages of the past who now dwell in glory, in eternal beauty. I'm reluctant to say goodbye to you, but now I shall. Goodbye. Maybe we will meet.